Hello? Hello? Okay, alright.
Hi, so welcome back to this channel. If you're new in here, my name is Sasito, and for this topic, we will be discussing what happens after your CORU registration. Now, before we start with that, congratulations on finally getting into the registry of CORU. Before we proceed, whatever I'm going to discuss, it's a personal experience and a little bit of research. We still have to go through the mentioned websites to go to read their latest updates. Now, as I said, you can go through with the next step, and then for this video, I will be into two parts. The first one, I will be discussing tips for employment, onboarding process, working permit, and working visa. These will be the four things that this video will contain. And then the second one, will be mostly focused for OFWs or for overseas Filipino workers. It will be the process for the DMWD as of 2023. That will be the medical, PDOS, POS, documents that you need to show for to immigration, stuff like that. Let's go with the number one. Number one, employer or employment, or actually looking for a job and getting the job. Now, for this one of the most common questions that I have been asked with regards to employment and CORU is it okay to look for a job while going through the process of registration? And it actually depends on the employer or the agency, because there are agencies willing to put you in the list while you're still waiting for your registration, while there are actually employers or agencies that are strict and they require you to be registered first before they list you for an interview. Now, for me, I'm actually a direct hire, and I found my employer through LinkedIn. But aside from LinkedIn, there are other websites such as Glassdoor, Irish Jobs IE, or Indeed.com. You can actually look for those websites for an available job in your profession. Now, during the process of actually looking for an employer, one of the most important requirements, or preferably they have, is that first they have a relocation package. This is important for me because obviously aside from the salary, and then relocation package is important for me because it will lessen your financial debt when you go through the process of moving abroad. Relocation package, preferably they will handle the airfare. They will at least provide a temporary accommodation, because as you all know, if you search Ireland, housing crisis is always attached to that, and it's already hard to find an accommodation while you are in there. It's definitely harder to look for an accommodation while you're outside the country. So a temporary accommodation will help you settle, will give you enough time to look for a proper housing when you're already there. Now, the next one is that if they will sponsor my working permit, because processing actually the working permit is kind of hard, and it's easier if your employer will process it, and it's actually expensive. The process dates is almost 1,000 euros. That's almost 59,000 Philippine peso, and that is expensive. It's really expensive to handle if you are if you're going to handle it yourself. That's it. This is the two most things that I can actually share when it comes to employment. Now, if you're going through an agency, that is actually the most a better option, or the easiest option, because they will handle everything from the very start of visa, the permit, everything, even the POEA process. They will handle it, so you'll just have to, they will guide you all throughout. Just easier for you to fly away. That's it. Now, for this one, that's the first part. And now for the second part, you already found your employer, you already went through the interview, you passed, they offered you the contract, you signed, and now the next step would be the onboarding process, or the onboarding part. And then that actually depends per company, but most common is that they'll have to have a file of you, so they will ask you your TOR, your diploma, stuff like that. And one of the main things that you have to go through during the onboarding process in my case is that I have to go through the e-vetting process again. And it's almost the same with what we went through with the CORU registration. So to give a brief summary of the vetting process, as part of that one, you will be required to fill out an e-vetting form that will be coming from your employer. And then after filling that out, you send it back to your employer, and then your employer will send your application to NVB. And then after receiving your application, the or NVB or National Vetting Bureau will process it and then send you an invitation link through your email. And then you have to complete that. You have to click through the link and then complete your application from there. And then after completing the needed information, you really just should monitor your application, and then your e-vetting application should end when the disclosure is viewed by your employer. So it should probably look like this. Alright, so let's proceed with number 3 and 4, so employment permit and working visa or employment visa. Now for these two, I'm a Filipino national, so I fall under this one. For most non-EEA nationals, to be able to work in Ireland, you actually have to have a working permit, and then to be able to enter Ireland, you need to have a working visa. Now, for the third one, employment permit, it's actually one of the most critical documents that you need to have to be able to apply for a employment visa.
Now, for this one, there are actually a lot of types of employment permits issued by DT.
The most common one on this one is a general employment and a CSEP or a critical skills employment permit. So I fall on the latter part. For a CSEP, I think the most noticeable benefits that I have seen on this one is that first, you can immediately apply for a family reunification, which would mean that you could bring your family in Ireland at the same time when you go there also. So you can immediately apply for that one. And then after the duration of your CSEP, so that's typically after 2 years, you can immediately apply for a stamp 4. So stamp 4 would mean that you're able to reside and work in Ireland without the need for a employment permit. So this is the most benefits that I've seen on this permit. Now, for the eligibility, you can actually look on the website. I will put the description below where you can read more on this one for your eligibility or for whichever permit you fall under, or you can actually ask your employer. And then for me, my employer did shoulder and process my employment permit, but as a general information, you should apply for an employment permit before the start of your contract. And then that you should actually apply online via EPOS or employment permit online system. For the fees are actually dependent on what type of permit you're looking for, or if you're a first time or a renewal card. For me, I'm a CSEP and it's my first time, so I am charged at 1,000 euros. So the good thing in here though is that if you are denied this one, you can actually ask for a refund for a certain percent. So you still get your money back, but like on a percentage. Now, for the processing timelines, there's no specific one for this one because they are processing the applications based on the date order or the day that they receive your application and the employer type. For my application, DT has received my application last January 16, and then I received my decision around January 19, so it was actually fast for me. I think that's it for the employment permit. We can now proceed with part 4, which is employment visa. Okay, so let's start with the employment visa, last discussion of this video. And before we start with that, please be advised that any inquiries or any applications regarding your visa will be redirected to VFS Philippines and not on the Irish consulate or Irish embassy. Even if you go there, they'll always tell you that you have to ask VFS Philippines. Now, for my application, for my work visa, I have to apply for a Type D long visa because this is a visa that allows me to enter Ireland for the purpose of staying longer than 3 months. That is the type that I had to apply for. Now, for this one, the first step that you have to do actually is to create your online application form in AVATS in the INES website. So it's this one. For this website, after inputting your information, you have to print it and then sign it, and it's one of the documents that you have to submit to VFS. Now, the only struggle that I had with this is that when you leave the website for too long, or if it takes you a while to input information, it will refresh and you have to start again. So it's better to gather all of the documents on hand and then type faster, and then that's it. Save and print. Now, for the next part, for gathering of supporting documents, these are the documents that I had gathered for my application. This 1 to 8, all of this. However, this does not mean that these are the documents that you have to get. This is only applicable for me and my visa and my application in VFS. It's always better to ask your consulate if you're in another country, or ask the VFS in your country, or VFS Manila or Cebu, for specific documents if you are not sure. Now, aside from that, after this 1 year, after gathering all of your documents, you may now proceed with the appointment at the VFS Philippines. What you have to do is to create an account and book an appointment online. You have to create an account first to be able to book, and then after booking, you have to pay it. So this fee is different from the actual visa fee. The visa fee that you have to pay it at the VFS in cash, and this one you can pay it. For me, I paid it online. In my experience at VFS Manila, so you have to leave everything in a locker, and then you just have to enter the actual area, the actual VFS Ireland area, with just the documents and your phone. And for me, the process was actually very fast because at the time there's only 3 of us, and yeah, they're actually very nice. The stuff there were nice. The only thing that I can comment in here is that I even have to pay for the locker, which is still, it's just a locker, so I still have to pay around, I'm not mistaken, 50 or 60 pesos for a locker that I used for almost 45 minutes. Anyways, aside from that, I think nothing else. The process in Eco Plaza for VFS Manila is very nice experience for me. And then after that one is that you have to wait for your decision. For employment visa, for a CSEP, for any kind of employment visa, the standard waiting time is 6 to 8 weeks. For me, my visa decision came after 6 weeks. So that's it. That's pretty much the things that you have to note for your visa application. And that for my next video, I will be discussing more of the DMW part. My medical at SM Lazo, my experience in there, my PDOS, PEOS, and most of my experience during my immigration. So that's it. Thank you for watching again, and please don't forget to subscribe. Okay, bye-bye po.